Hi, welcome to Team Woolly Sheep Reviews. I've been playing with one of these. What is it? It's a stabilisation system by Turnigy, and this is the AeroStar Flight Control 3-axis aircraft gyro system. You set the dip switches to what you want. I'm setting up a delta wing, so I've gone onto delta wing, configured the dip switches as that, and it should stabilize. Nah, maybe. So as you can see, I've got a conventional mix. If I do my roll or aileron, you can see the two servos are operating the same direction on channels 2 and 3, and in elevator mode they go opposite directions. If I power up the receiver, which is bound, and these are basically the aileron servos to work as Elevons. When I power them up, as you can see, they work in that. So elevator up and down in the same direction, opposite directions in aileron roll. Right, so now I'm going to introduce this. Basically, this is a control. The auxiliary in is go to a control channel, which I've got set up on channel 7. These will be channels 2 and 3, and then the servos will be 2 and 3 will be there. So the two servos will be on the aileron and elevator connections. I've set the dip switch to delta, so I shall just plug it in. So as you can see now, if I move the stabilizer, you'll see the roll results in the servos correcting, and the elevator, I'll make it more clear. So if I pitch up and down, you see the elevator and the roll that way. So that's working as a stabilized delta wing. However, it is always a but. If I move the sticks, I've only got one aileron working. I've lost the mix. Ooh, doesn't it make your blood boil? Ooh. Right, you've obviously gone on the internet and found this video thinking, what have I done wrong? Well, guess what? You haven't done anything wrong as yet. What you're doing is retrofitting this into a working model. However, the configuration for this is a little bit different, because this is your aileron mix, not in your radio. This is doing it. If you set your transmitter as a basic setup, no Elevon mixes, you delete the model, get rid of it, start a fresh model, set it up as a basic plane with a separate channel for your ailerons, separate channel for your elevators and rudder, throttle, and then this will do the mix for you. And guess what? It will work. So relax, make a cup of coffee, have a chill, because you know it's going to work. We will go through the little pots there, because it's something critical to know about them on setting up the gains. And we'll cover that a little bit later. But first of all, go and change your radio, conventional plane, do it a fresh model, whatever, but get rid of the Elevon mix, because it ain't gonna work. Sorry about the rain, it is absolutely hammering it down here, which is why I'm in the conservatory and not out there in the shed. Haha. I've set in here, I've got it set up on a plane. It's my Watt 4 settings, so it's set up as a conventional. You can see lots of rates, but you basically get the gist of it. The basic channels on the page where I've got a couple of mixes, because I've got
low rates, high rates,
I've got different rates stored, which is no big deal. But what I'm saying, this is a conventional plane setup. There's no mixes in there. And now, if I look at the servos, I've now got aileron and elevator control from the two servos. and as well as If I go side to side, I'm getting aileron input. And if I pitch it up and down, I'm getting elevated input. So I have now got stabilisation set up on there in delta wing setup, using a conventional plane setup. So if you're watching this video because you've been scratching your head trying to figure out why doesn't it get the two channels, logically you would say if you've got the mix in your radio it should transpose here because that's the way it should be, but believe me, it doesn't work. You have to have the radio set up as conventional, exactly the same as if you was doing a quadcopter. Radio gets set up as a conventional 4-channel arrangement and let the flight controller do the work. So as I learn, you learn. That's the way you do it. The question then is gain. How do I set up the gain? For this I'm going to get a pen and paper. Alright, if you follow the instructions, it says, warning, please read the following setups very carefully before using this board. First of all, it doesn't tell you that your radio should be set up as a conventional plane arrangement. But that's by the by, I'll forgive them. Right. When it comes to setting gain, this is when it gets a little bit confusing because it's got this little statement here. Oh my god, look at the rain. When you get to this bit here, it says 5 o'clock maximum gain in one direction, 12 o'clock equals 0 gain, 7 o'clock maximum gain in opposite direction. What on earth is it saying? When you get the unit, it's basically got these 3 potentiometers with little screwdriver slots, and they give you a little screwdriver to do it with. So when you get it, it'll be roughly there. When you turn that pot, you will find that it stops about there and about there. So that is what they call in the 5 o'clock, that's what they call in the 7 o'clock, and that's what they call in the 12. Now you'll find if I mark that end, they're not marked, but if I, for argument's sake, I mark that end, and you rotate that around there, it'll stop at 7. You rotate that, it'll stop at 5. So that would be low, that's high. Low, high. What is he on about? Right, what I'm on about is if you turn that to 12 o'clock position, so that is effectively there like that, you'll have 0 or very little gain. When I say gain, it's when you move the model, how much input goes into those servos. So as I move that, see they move jumping about quite nicely. By the way, you've got the red solid light means it's in gyro stabilized mode. So that should be trying to keep your center to that position. If you move it, the servos will adjust to stop to throw the plane back. Alright, I would argue to say that if it's up like that, those servos should turn, stay in that position until it's resumed to there. But as you can see, it's putting input into the servos and correcting them. So don't worry too much about that because it's when it's flying, it'll should throw the plane back. Anyway, so if you've got it up right there, you're going to virtually no gain. So obviously as you rotate that through, say to the 5 o'clock position, that is the high gain position. So that there is giving you maximum gain, maximum feedback to the servos. So the servos should be more responsive. Now, if the servos are responding but going in the wrong direction, in other words, instead of correcting and the servo go into, say, in this case, well, this is the rudder, say it was turning left and you wanted it to correct by turning it right, and then when you test it, it corrects by also turning it right, you can then turn that around the opposite way round and have it on the other side. So by having it around on the other side, the servos will move in the opposite direction. So this side of 12 is one direction for correction, and this side of 12 o'clock is the other direction. So if the servos are responding in the wrong way, then turn that opposite. What the ideal position is to try and set it up ideally in the horizontal position. So set it up sort of midway so that they're more or less all horizontal. If they're all horizontal in the correct direction, if they go in the wrong direction, you just put the screwdriver in and turn it round the opposite way. You won't go beyond the 5 and 7 o'clock marks, so you can't go wrong. You know which side you are. So turn it to the 7 to do it the stops, and then turn it back horizontal. So you know then that it's that on that way. So as long as you're aware of that, if you want to reduce the sensitivity, turn it down to the 12. But what you have to do is don't worry about it too much on the bench. Just turn it halfway, get it in the air. If you find it's not stabilizing as good enough, then turn it up. If you find it's twitchy and it's not very stable, then obviously turn it the other way. So you need to play about it, set it mid position, you'll probably find it'll work fine. You flick on the stabilizer and fly it, and you'll find it's noticeably more stable, if that's the word. So yeah, flick the switch and give it a try. Obviously, if you throw the switch and you're not happy, you can always turn it off and go back to normal flight. But what you'll find is instead of it being bouncing around and buffeting with the wind, this gadget will just put a quick input into those ailerons to keep it level and put some corrective action in. It's not a full-on flight control system, so all it's going to do is take a lot of the bumpiness out and give you a more stable flight. That's what it's meant to do, and that's what apparently these do well. So once you've got it set up, as the plane is buffeting, you'll see the servos jittering and adjusting accordingly. So instead of you wallowing in the air, should be nice and smooth. So like I said, if it becomes a bit erratic, turn the gains down and try it again. Don't go too mad. Like I said, if it's in the 12 position, these are pretty much almost all full all the way because I've been experimenting. So, but you can see I'm going to move it much. It's quite twitchy and sensitive. If I turn them I'll turn them to the 12 o'clock position, and you will see. Obviously, there's no rudder on here, so there you are, 12 o'clock position. Oh look, servos are not moving. If I turn them on a little bit, in one direction, I don't know which way I'm going to go, but I'm going to turn them just a little bit.
Inactivity alarm.
And you'll see that they're starting to respond, but not by much. I'm having to throw it around quite a lot to get it to start moving. And if I turn them to the full extent, you will see now it is quite erratic, and you can see if I move it slowly, you would have thought, if that's 45 degrees, why isn't it correcting? But like I said, it's not a flight control system. What it's doing is before it gets there, as it's tilted up, it's already giving a corrective signal. And apparently that's enough to bring the plane back in line. So obviously you were flying it with the control sticks, it's not autonomous. So this is for stabilization, not flight control, so be mindful. So this will take the bumps out. So great for FPV. It takes a lot of worry, especially when you're using head tracker. It makes it a lot nicer to fly with. So one last thing, the recalibration. It's got a comment at the bottom saying, after assigning your transmitter, proceed with the following calibration procedure. Quickly flip the flight mode switch to your preferred transmitter, preferred transmitter, 3 times rate and hold mode within 1 second. 3 times. That's brrr, job done. Now, they are pretty much set up from go. And if you've set a 3 position switch, you might find that's a hell of an ask to start throwing the switches. So what a lot of people are saying, they've allocated it to a 2 position switch with that and set a curve in the radio so it only switches between hold and rate, and flip the switch really fast and assuming it's calibrated. If you want to do that, it's fine, but I would test it first, and if you've got any problems then try and do that, or if you want to do it, but that's the way they say calibrate. It doesn't give you any indication to say bing bing I've just been calibrated, so it's a lot of faith, but they pretty much come ready to go out the box, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But that's the way around it. Put it to a 2-position switch, give it a good thrashing. If you can count 3 times really fast, change, done, and then box it up and ready to go, and that should be it. If you put it on a bench, like I've got my plane on a box, and the servos are holding level, then it's pretty much level, so don't worry about it. Now, just a quick explanation is that LED off, it means the gyro's off and it's only radio control. It's only a transmitter control. If the light is solid, that's what you want. It's in the conventional rate mode, and the stabilizer will take all the bumps and turns out of it and try and keep the plane level. So however you fly, it'll be nice. Now there is a hold mode. Now that's when the LEDs flash, and the hold mode is if you put the plane on a 45-degree angle and you release the sticks, it will hold in that position. That is basically your gyros doing like you would in acro mode on your quadcopters, etc. So that is a hold mode. It holds the position, and so when you let go of the sticks, it will stay in that hold position and that attitude until you give it another command. So that's basically like your acro full manual, whatever. The stabilization is going to take all the thing. Now if you was on the plane and you wanted to do knife edge, you'd put it in the knife edge, and that's the angle it would stay. The plane would stay in that angle, so you could mess around with the other controls, the throttle, the rudder, and you could leave it in that, and you leave your ailerons be controlled by the gyro. It's not going to try and self-level. The gyro and rate mode is going to try and level the plane, try to keep the plane level. So that's the primary differences. So give it a try. Like I said, you want the solid red lights. If you want to mess around and do a little bit more aerobatics, then perhaps the hold mode is the one for you. But a lot of people are whinging and moaning it's not quite what they expected. So I would stick with the solid red light, go for gyro, and that in the rate mode. And like I said, give it a try. Any comments, put it in the box below, and we'll soon sort it out. Once again, I apologise for the bad lighting and the sound effects of rain hitting the roof. I can't help that. That's the way it is. So, hope you enjoyed that. Alright, this is my FX61 Phantom. It's a flying wing, and as you can see inside there is my stabilization system. And what you can hear, or you may hear, is as I move the wing up and down, the ailerons are moving to compensate for the... They're hard to see on camera, but believe me, they are moving up and down. Well, that wasn't very easy. So you get the general idea. The servos don't move, real heavy throws. They're just little flutters to keep the thing true and level. So apparently it does a good job. So I shall let you know after I've flown it, if it ever stops raining. So, well, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Catch you soon again. Thank you very much. Now buy one and build it.